Hello chatbot makers, Dali from Botpress. It's time to understand and register your custom module. In today's video, we will be focusing on the backend folder. We are going to see how to create a database when your module is initialized and creating a new set of endpoint for your custom module. Hope you're ready. We are now ready to modify our custom module. We previously create and install our custom module in Botpress. This time, I will modify the content of the custom module. The video will be around the backend folder, so how to set up the backend folder and get your module ready. But first, I want to show you where to find the documentation about the Botpress SDK. In the documentation website, there is a tab called SDK at the top. You can click on it and you will get all the interface and class that are present in the SDK. If you are using an IDE, you can search for the definitions of every interface or class. I will get back to this later in the video. The most important interface to create a module is called the module entry point. Botpress is looking at this interface to register the module inside the Botpress server. Okay, let's instantiate this interface in Botpress. This interface needs to be in the backend folder. From the documentation, we can see that the module entry point only requires the definition variable. The definition variable is another interface. Let's look at what we need inside this interface. This interface only needs a name. Pretty easy to define. The name inside the definition interface needs to match your module name. If you did not sublink your custom module to the output declare of Botpress, I'm suggesting you to watch the video in the information card at the top right. You will also need to start watching your file inside your module and start your Botpress server. Don't forget to enable your custom module in the bot.config.json and to activate the module in the tab modules. As we see, the module is correctly registered in Botpress, but the image link is broken. Let's fix that image. If you are using an IDE like VS Code or IntelliJ, you can search for the reference definition. In VS Code on my Mac, I press F12 for doing this action. Here we are seeing the module entry point interface. This interface is the same as in the documentation. Now I'm pressing F12 to go in the module definition. In the module's definition, I'm interested in the menu icon variable. You can use your own asset by placing it into the folder assets, or you can use the icon present in the blueprint library. I can go to the blueprintjs.com. I click on the icon tab and I can search for icon. After this, I copy the icon name into the menu icon variable into the definition. And voila, you have your new icon set in Botpress, and don't forget to reload your server. And let's look at the final result. Before moving forward, let's fix the onover name. Botpress uses I18N to support multi-language chatbot. In the onover name, we're seeing the actual key of the I18N. The actual key is modules order full name. I will set up a translation file for a custom module. I'm going back into the index.ts file. I'm adding an English translation file to the module entry point interface. Now I'm taking a look at the english.json file. In the translation file, I added a key called full name. That key corresponds to the onover name we see earlier. The module registration will understand how to map the module order path and the key we added inside the translation file. In this case, I only add the full name and the onover name will change. Want to see the final result? I restarted the Botpress server and reload my web browser. Nice! The module can be multi-language now. Let's continue developing our custom module. This custom module doesn't do anything useful, Let's see if we can find something. On server started looked like a good function for us. It said that it's called once the query is initialized, usually for middleware and database initialization. I will use that function to implement our database with our custom module. Here, I'm setting up the database to be initialized when Botpress starts. As you see, I passed the onServerStarted function to the entry point variable. OnServerStarted is a method that module entry point can have. I will get back to the db folder in a couple of seconds. Let's take a look at the db.ts file. This file will initialize a table in the Botpress database, and it will implement some function to work with the created table. First of all, I'm initializing the table name called orders. The class CompleteModuleDB will extend a KeyNeck object. KeyNeck is a JavaScript ORM library. It can perform some SQL query by using JavaScript code. Botpress has added extra method to this KeyNeck extender interface. On the left, we're still in the db.ts file, and on the right, we are looking at the KeyNeck extended interface. In the initialize function, we are using a function called createTableIfNotExists. This function is given by the Botpress KeyNeck extended interface. We can see there's a couple more helper present in that interface. What this function does, it creates a table in the database if that table does not exist. The table argument in the function contains methods to describe each row in the table we are creating. Each line in the code is translated into a column in the orders table. The addOrders method adds a new row in the table orders. The getOrders method can get all the orders if you don't pass the customer parameters. Otherwise, it would get all the orders related to the customer. And the last method, getOrder, get the detail from a single order. If we restart our Botpress server with the latest change, our database should have a new table. Let's look if that table exists. In this example, I'm using the SQL database. If you are using Botpress in production, make sure to use the PostgreSQL database. Oh wow, we get the orders table we have initialized in the db.ts file. Now, I would check the schema of the table to make sure everything is there. Okay, now that we have set up our table, it could be a good idea to make API call to this table. I will implement the API and register this API in our Botpress module. The first thing to check is the module entry point interface to see if we have a method that can register our API. The onServerReady looks like a potential function. What the commands say about this function? This is called once all modules are initialized, usually for routing and logic. This is what we want. Let's get back to our index.ts file to implement this function. I'm using the same technique as the onServerStarted. If the name of the function is the same name as in the interface, we can only pass the function name to the entry point. Once the implementation of the onServerReady is done, I would show the API.ts file to understand what's going on. To use the API.ts, you need to pass the Botpress object and a DB connections. In the Botpress object, you have a class called HTTP. This class uses the Express framework. I will link in the description the Express library that we are using. This function will create a new router into your order module. For example, to call the next method, you will need to do the following request: /API/v1/bot/ the bot name /mod/orders. This endpoint will become the basic URL for the next three methods. The first method is adding an order to the database. The second method is getting all the orders from a customer. And the last one is getting information about the specific orders. Let's call those actions to see if that works. I had a preference for VS Code to query those endpoints. You could use your favorite API platform, it doesn't matter. First of all, you need to be authenticated to query Botpress endpoint. When you are in the application, you don't need to do this. Once I got the GW token, I would use it to authenticate myself. In this case, the auth token will contain the GWT token. I will start by adding an order to the database. Probably you are wondering where all those variables came from. They came from the API.ts file we see earlier. On the left side, we are passing those variables into the post request. On the right side, we are waiting for those variables to be present in the request. After we pass the variables to the orders method from the db.ts file we see earlier. I will make sure this API works. Great, we got a 200 response. I will not go over the two others method because the post request was the hardest one. Oof, that was a long video. I hope you understand the main idea behind the backend folder. This folder is critical for the functionment of a custom module. It's the entry point of your custom module, and it contains all the business logic for your module. Bye.